Let's do an update of this river style pebble aquascape. Welcome ladies and gentlemen to another episode of Naquascape. In today's channel, like I said, we're going to be doing a review of this River Pebble Aquascape. The tank was scaped just before Christmas, so it's been running for about 8 weeks, just under 2 months, and it's looking reasonably well, getting really good plant growth, and I've done no trimmings, I've just let the plant grow. I've got fish added in there, so let's see where we're at with this scape. Alright guys, so here we are at the front of the tank, and as you can see around here, the Vallisneria nana is, hold up, let me zoom you guys in 1 second. There we go, that's better, isn't it? The Vallisneria nana is kind of creeping forward from the back and, you know, stemming off into the front of the scape. Yeah, that looks quite natural, but, you know, I want this scape to look quite tidy, so what I'm going to do is trim that and replant it towards the back. And what I love is that you get a bit of a dark area going towards the back in that center just there. It's always nice to have a bit of contrast between light and dark. So these are the pygmy cories. I absolutely love these little fellas or ladies. They're really cool. The other fish that I have are the Chilirazboras that I originally had in the tank before I scaped it. Let's just have a closer look at them. So there we are, they're the Chilirazboras, and they have a really nice red color to them. I've only just switched on the lights for the purpose of this video, but they've already colored up in a short time. They love planted aquariums. The more plants you have, the happier they are. They come out and feed really well. In fact, you know what? I can feed them a little bit, so why don't we just feed them and you can see how they're feeding. So like I said, I've not done any trimming. I just want to see how the plants grow after about a couple of months and then document that for you. So let's just have a look at the plants one by one very quickly and give you a quick update of how the plants are doing. Just around there, that the roots of the Vallisneria nana are actually attaching onto the rocks and spreading into the sand. So a really robust, easy to grow plant. Obviously I'm injecting CO2 in here and giving nutrients. The Cryptocorini Belensi, this one here that I'm just holding, is doing absolutely superb. I did get a couple of the leaves melting, but that was no problem. So I've got one here and I've got one in the back corner here. You could probably just see the leaf here down there. The dwarf hairgrass is starting to creep onto the aquarium gravel. So this is just Colorado sand that I'm using with some, you know, coarser Denelay gravel, and yeah, it's starting to creep into the gravel. Originally I didn't have that piece of Bucephalandra there. It was floating around in my ADA60P, so I thought I'll just wedge it into a rock and see what happens, just so I can learn a bit more on growing these plants and just kind of experimenting on their robustness. The Cryptocorini, this is the Cryptocorini Wallisii, is doing really well. I had a little bit of melt in the beginning. So the Cyperus Helferi is doing really good. Like I said, there's a little bit of green spot algae in the top, but I'm not too bothered about that. A little bit of a food source for my Amanos, for my Otocichlis catfish. If it starts getting a bit more, then I'll just trim the leaves. The easiest option for me is to just stick a load of Amana shrimp in, and that'll be fine. So let's just get this, move this at the back. However, you know, some of the leaves, yeah, I've got a bit of algae on there, but you know, most of the leaves are really lush and green. So let me just try and pick that out for you. So not that one, get out of the way, algae leaf. Really nice lush green on the Cyperus helferi overall. So again, around here, to try and pick something out. There we go, really nice lush green growth of the Cyperus helferi, and that's the same with the ADA60P that also contains the Cyperus helferi. Finally, it has some Helolanthium tenellum green as well interdispersed between the vallis and stuff, and that's really given a nice kind of, you know, backdrop onto this tank, especially the Helolanthium tenellum green that's growing in the middle, and also the Eleucharis as well that's growing around there. Just gives a lot of texture, is growing really well, it's spreading really well, it's growing superbly. Helolanthium tenellum green is, for me, one of my personal favorite kind of, you know, grassy kind of carpeting plants. Other fish that I have in here are just some Ottocyclus catfish. So I try not to keep the tank super clean because Ottos really need a good source of algae. If you don't have much algae in your tank, that's not always a good thing if you're keeping Ottocyclus, in my opinion. You know, the most kind of algaeified tanks have been the best tanks for Ottocyclus catfish. However, so I don't really clean the tank too much. I just let the Ottos do their work. I just do a water change of around about 50% once a week, and I've just cleaned out the filter once. We'll have a look at the hard gear that I've got with this tank as well, just to remind you of what I've got set up in this system. I like to, you know, aerate the tank. It's really good for the fish. Not only the fish, but it's also good to have air for the denitrifying bacteria. Okay, so in terms of fertilization, what am I using? I'm using the ADA Green Brighty Mineral and the Green Brighty Neutral K. So for light, I am using this Twin Star 450C. So it's an RGB light, and I have the light on a automated timer. So that timer is set on a program so that the intensity ramps up and ramps down over a 9-hour period. So the light is not on at full intensity. It's only on at full intensity for 3 hours. Otherwise it ramps up from about 9 in the morning and then goes down over a 9-hour period. All right, filtration. I have the Eden 521. That actually has an inbuilt thermometer. It's not inbuilt, you can take the thermometer out, but the heater is in the filter, so that's great. This normally takes 1622 tubing, so I've got a kind of reducing adapter that goes to 1216 tubing. I've got a CO2 pressurized CO2 bottle, and what I've got set up here is the CO2 art pressure regulator, which I've just kind of recently put on. I'm bubbling around about 1.5 to 2 bubbles per second, which gives me a CO2 reading of around about 27 ppm to 30 ppm, depending on when lights are on and off. CO2 wise, inline CO2, and this is made by CO2 Art as well. I have to say that this type of scape is relatively easy to keep. The reason why is because the Cryptocorinne Berlensii and the Wallisii, slow growing plants, they're heavy root feeders, so you need good fertilization for them and a decent amount of light, not too much light. The Cyperus helferi, again, is a medium category type of plant with CO2 and decent nutrients, grows really well under the Twin Star 450 Series 2C light. I hope you've enjoyed an update of this tank. Here is a short cinematic. Sit back, enjoy, listen to the background music, and I'll see you in the next video. For now, ta-ra.